Good afternoon, guys. It's working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. I do apologize, guys, for the lack of updates over the last couple weeks, guys. We've still in the process of moving across country. We're just now getting settled in. I should be hopefully back in the swing of things in the next week or so, possibly less. But I wanted to give you guys a quick update here. Again, I do apologize for the lack of updates, guys, and I apologize for the lack of warning. I didn't expect it to take as long as this has. It's been one hell of a process for anyone that's done any major moving. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, guys, we're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the one-day chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin was sitting up in the right above, I believe it was right about 3,600. I told you guys if 3,600 did end up breaking down, it would very quickly end up dropping to about 3,400. This area down here, this 3,400 we knew was a very decent support area between 3,400 and 3,250. We can see that Bitcoin did end up breaking down and then kind of moved sideways for about a week or so, just a little over a week. And why was it finding so much support right here in this area? It's because, as I showed you guys before, guys, looking at this larger structure, we go swing low, swing high. We can see that that was right at the golden pocket, right between that 618 and that 65 fib level, which typically provides a very, very strong support. And that's exactly what happened here, guys. It was literally just bouncing right on top of it, always wicking through, but you know, we can accept a wick, but the body just literally bouncing right on top of that golden pocket for the last almost 2 weeks, literally. And then it ended up breaking down as it typically does. If it does end up breaking decisively down, it typically breaks hard. And that's what we had here. Fell down, hit almost perfectly off the 786 fib level, which also coincided nicely with our $3,400 support. And here we sit. And the question is, you know, has that thing hit bottom and are we going to turn back around? We're not seeing any sign of that yet. If we come over here and we look at volume, we did have a spike in volume today at about 6.4 billion. We can see that for the last 2 weeks, volume has been very steady, right around 5.2 billion, 5.5 billion. Somewhere thereabouts, guys. Very steady volume, but for the most part, guys, we had this little spike, and this was all sell volume for the day. Stand by, guys. I got to get this phone. All right, sorry about that, guys. So anyway, yeah, we did end up breaking below this this golden pocket, hit that $3,400 support, and you know the question is, have we hit bottom? Sorry if I'm repeating myself, guys. I had to pause the video there for a little bit, lost my train of thought. But as I said, the volume spiked a little bit. That was all sell volume, guys. We're getting no massive influx of volume whatsoever. Volume is still very, very, very weak overall. Which is not a good sign, guys. We're not seeing any sign of a bottom as of yet. We hit that 786 fib level very nicely, a little bit of a bounce. Let's see if that can continue. The only bullish thing that I'm seeing for now, well, before I talk about that, let me point out, let me zoom out here to the weekly chart before I bring that up. Looking at the weekly chart, guys, this kind of gives you a very good perspective. We can see that overall this has been kind of a tiny little blip on the radar for this overall bearish trend that we've been in, and breaking down here, we can see that very likely, looking at the weekly chart, we can see there's high probability that we're going to come back down and at least retest this low, which on Coinbase is about 3180 on Coinbase. Now again, that'll vary depending on your exchange, a little bit higher on Bitfinex, maybe a little bit lower on the others, but you want to just look at this overall pattern and this low here, whatever that is on your exchange, that's where we may be heading down to in the short term, at least looking at this pattern. At least there's this would suggest a high probability that we may be heading down to at least 3100, 3180 on Coinbase, if not this $3,000 area. Now this $3,000 area between 3,000 and 2,500, that's a very, very strong support. As I told you guys in the past, that's a must-buy zone down here if it ever does get here. I'm not saying it's going to, just means there's a real possibility that it could, and that's something you want to keep an eye out for. And I will not be going in heavy at all. If I play any trade at all, it won't be heavy at all until we get down into this zone. This is where I will consider putting in a little heavier, entering into a little heavier position if we ever get down into this zone. Excuse me. But it's coming back into the daily chart, guys. The only few bullish things that I'm seeing is if we pull out here and we look at some of our indicators, we're looking at our MACD, and this is again on the daily chart, guys. What do we see? Well, we can see if we look at point to point, we can see that the wick came all the way down here. We can even come to this point here, disregard that wick, or wherever we want to look. We can see that if I go point to point, guys, I'll even take the most conservative route and go point to point here. We can see that price created a lower low, obviously, right? If we come over here and we look at the daily MACD and come down to the exact same point, what do we see? Going all the way back to here, guys. I mean, again, we could even bring it all the way back here. We can see it's been continuously creating a lower low. Looking at the MACD, what do we got? We've continuously created a higher low. So that would suggest a possible little bounce here, guys. Now, I'm not putting a lot of faith into that, guys, with the very, very low volume. You know, you kind of take that with a grain of salt, but that would suggest it wouldn't be insane to take out a small position here, trying to target maybe 3,600 if price does come back down and retest this $3,400 range. If it comes back down and retest $3,400, trying to pick up a small scalp trade targeting 35, 3,600 guys is not a bad idea. I would probably be more conservative and target 35 if you're going to do that. I probably will not do that as of now. Your best bet would have been to do it here, and if you did buy down here, guys, I'd take your profit off the table and let the rest ride, in my opinion. Not financial advice, obviously, but that is one small little bullish thing that we're seeing. Another small bullish pattern that we're seeing, and again, take this with a grain of salt because it's not the prettiest, but if I come over here and I excuse me, guys, come over here and I look at point to point, we can see that there's kind of this descending support line that's been in place. And if I come over here, we can see that there's this descending descending resistance line that has also been in place right here. A little bit of wick out here. Now I can draw it here. I can draw it here, and pardon me, guys, my throat is so damn dry. I can draw it here. I can draw it here, guys. Best bet, in my opinion, probably makes the most sense to draw it right here. That coincides nicely with this wick, coincides nicely with the body here. We have one little wick poking out here, which is not abnormal at all. So this would suggest a possible descending wedge, which typically is a bullish sign. And as you approach the apex of that, you want to see, obviously, the probability tells us that price is going to break up. Now, again, this is not the prettiest at all whatsoever, guys. Take this with a grain of salt. Yes, I'm kind of forcing a pattern here, guys. It's just something that I noticed. It's not something that I put a lot of faith into. But if I couple that with that bullish divergence on the daily MACD, we could make a case, if price does come back down and retest 3,400, we could make a case for going in very small here and targeting 35, 3,600 for a very quick scalp trade. But I would just do that very quick scalp trade. I'd get in and I'd get out. It wouldn't be a long-term hold. I wouldn't plan on swing trading at all. Now, if you are planning on holding for the long term, by the long term, as I always say, is a year or more, yeah, so slowly dollar cost averaging in, that's not a bad idea. But I would have a very tight stop loss here, because if this descending resistance line, support line does end up breaking down, we could find ourselves at least down to 32.50, possibly coming down to that $3,000 range, as I said. And this is the area where I'd want to go in heavier, between $3,000 and $2,500. That's the area that I'd want to definitely go in heavier if I was looking to enter into a position. Now, coming over here and looking at our moving averages and exponential moving averages, pardon me, guys. Or excuse me, let's start off with longs and shorts. Looking at our longs, guys, longs are starting to stack. So price was going down. Longs are starting to stack. That's typically a bullish sign. In other words, longs are not chasing price. In other words, when price goes down, typically longs fall off. That's a good thing to see, that longs are stacking here and out. The downside to that is if I come over here and I look at shorts, longs are definitely outpacing shorts, which means market makers are going to drive price, obviously may want to drive price down. Now, we'll have to wait and see. But shorts are also stacking here. So we have long stacking, we have short stacking, and you get the two together, we have longs outpacing shorts. That typically tells you that market makers are going to do what? They're going to want to liquidate those long positions. Longs are outpacing shorts, so they want to liquidate those long positions, guys, and liquidate those or excuse me, sorry guys, I'm doing 5 things at once here. My dog is walking. They're going to want to liquidate those long positions, guys, because longs are outpacing shorts. And how do they do that, guys? They do that by driving price down. Now, again, shorts are stacking here as well. Now, shorts are not anywhere close to where longs are, but they are still stacking here. So we'll have to kind of monitor this and wait and see how this kind of ends up playing out. But if we do see shorts start to fall off the board and longs continue to stack, very likely price is going to drop down. If we see shorts continue to stack here and longs start to fall off the board, the opposite is also true, guys. Price could, we could go on a short squeeze and price could spike. So just keep that in mind. This is just one piece of the puzzle that you want to consider when you're looking at entering into a position. All right, now let's go check out our moving averages and exponential moving averages. This is on the, let me pull out to the daily. Looking at the daily chart, guys, we can see that the Bollinger Bands we're starting to constrict here. Anytime you see that, you kind of expect a larger move. We had that drop in price here. We can see that it bounced perfectly on the bottom daily Bollinger Band right there. Had a nice little bounce off that area there, guys. So that is acting right now as a decent support. Let's wait and see if that does end up holding. But for now, we can see that we've been unable to break up above this 8-day EMA since we haven't been above the 8-day EMA since January the 20th, so for a little over a week now, which is a rather bearish sign, guys. Now let's wait and see if this little drop here could trigger enough buys to get us back up above that 8-day EMA. If it does, it'd be a rather bullish sign. I'm not holding my breath whatsoever, the guys. But really, what we need to break above here is this 21-day EMA. I always tell you the 21-day EMA is typically a very, very good sign of things to come. Now, it doesn't always work out that way at all, guys. It's just one piece of the puzzle. But if we do decisively break above the 21-day EMA, this yellow line here, guys, if we decisively break above that, that might be a good indication to go long. And by long, I mean enter into a possible quick scalp and or swing trade. Typically that, though, or more likely swing trade. This is typically, guys, a momentum shift. This typically signals a momentum shift. In other words, if we get a decisive break above, by decisive on the daily, I mean a daily candle both opening and closing. So not just breaking above, but a daily candle opening and closing above the 21-day EMA. If we get that decisive break above there, guys, then that would signal a possible momentum shift. Again, doesn't mean it is a momentum shift. It just means it's one sign of a momentum shift. And if we can couple that with other signs, then yeah, it may make sense to enter into a little position. But just one thing you kind of always want to watch, guys, and it's not something, again, I don't want to be that. I'm starting to repeat myself, and I hate to do that. But just keep an eye on that 21-day EMA. If you do decide to enter a long position, guys, the area that you're going to be watching is right here. What was support should act as resistance. What was support should act as resistance. In this area right here, guys, sitting right around 3,500, that was a strong support. That was at that golden pocket. If we can get above that area and get back into this 3,600, guys, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign. But I would expect this to act as a very strong resistance. So until we break above that, if you are looking at a scalp trade down here, I would target this area on Coinbase. That's about 3,500. I wouldn't go anything higher than that. That would be my target if you are planning on entering down here. And I would wait. If you haven't already planned to enter into a position, I would wait until that price drops back down to that 3,400, possibly even lower than that, to slowly enter into a quick scalp trade. If you are looking to. Now again, I'm not going to play that. A little too risky for my blood, but that's kind of the area that I'd be watching, and I'd be targeting this area right here if you're going to do that. The safest thing to do, guys, is just to sit back and wait for and wait to see what's happening, because right now we're getting a lot of mixed signals, and I just sit back and wait and let the trade come to you. I wouldn't force a trade. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Till next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working. Signing out.